That was pretty much what I did throughout the entire movie as I watched it. Just breathtaking. Hi, I'm Tyler, and I'm here to let you know that Jason Bourne is no perfect movie. So in Jason Bourne, our main hero, played once again by Matt Damon, has been on the run for several years since the end of Bourne Ultimatum, and he thinks he remembers everything. But when his former accomplice, Nikki Parsons, played once again by Julia Stiles, hacks into the CIA database and she discovers clues as to how Bourne was inducted into Operation Treadstone, CIA Director Robert Dewey, played by Tommy Lee Jones, sends out a specialized assassin played by Vincent Cassel to stop Bourne from figuring out the truth. Matt Damon is as great as Jason Bourne in this one as he has ever been in any of the other films. According to some media claims, he only has like 25 lines throughout the entire 2-hour runtime, and quite honestly, that's really all he needs. The movie doesn't waste any time giving speeches about what he knows about his past. We see him physically venting his frustrations on other people while he's working as a street fighter, while also thinking about the people that he's killed in the past. And whenever he does a task like creating a distraction to abduct someone that he knows, he doesn't explain anything about how he did it. We just see him put every single little piece of the plan in motion. And the storyline about how he volunteered for Treadstone, in my opinion, is pretty fascinating because his motivation is very identifiable. It's grief and vengeance based on a personal event that happened to him that influenced his choice to become an assassin. Tommy Lee Jones very effectively portrays the villain as being equally just as slimy and despicable as he is patriotic and proud of his country. He knows how to keep subordinates under his control, whether it be blackmailing them with the security of their family, or by manipulating them by saying that one's past actions, like constant surveillance on certain people or one's kill count, have prevented terrorists from harming Americans, and he feels very proud of his actions and he doesn't feel ashamed of them in any way. And Alicia Vikander is one of the biggest mysteries in the film due to the fact that the audience never actually really knows whether she wants to help Bourne out of pity and really thinks that what the CIA did to him was wrong, or if she's just overly ambitious and she wants to use Bourne to overthrow Dewey for her own personal reasons. And at first, I thought Vincent Cassel's character was a little too different from other Bourne hitmen, because what I really liked about the other assassins in these movies is that there's little to no dialogue, there's a lot of mystery surrounding these characters as to how they were trained or what they think about their personal jobs. But then they give this asset a backstory where he has a personal grudge against Bourne because exposing Operation Blackbriar affected this asset's life very negatively. And it was a very interesting and understandable motivation, and his rivalry with Bourne was very exciting to watch, especially during the climax. Now, one thing that no one can deny about this movie is that this is the Bourne film with the largest scale there is. Paul Greengrass still directs a very nice voyeuristic atmosphere that I love about these movies. A lot more over-the-shoulder camera angles to make us feel like we're spying on the characters. But he also takes this a bit of a step further. There's a lot more CCTV surveillance footage to see characters trying to make a move and other characters trying to outsmart them and figure out where they're going to go next. But the other thing that I really love about this movie is that this film visually portrays the distrust and paranoia that society has with the government and integrates that into the action scenes. Because the very first action scene in this film is in the middle of this really tense and very violent political rally in Greece. There are Molotov cocktails being thrown everywhere, there are like cars and buildings on fire, cops and protesters are beating each other all over the place while Bourne is trying to escape, and it just feels so claustrophobic, and I was gripping my fists and constantly in and out of breath as I was watching this scene. And thankfully, the rest of the action scenes once again use shaky cam to effectively add energy to the fights, but they still use wide angles to show the choreography and close-ups to emphasize the weight of a hit. And once again, the stunts, for the most part, are very practical. If there's any CGI, I didn't see it. And I gotta say, the climax in Vegas with the SWAT car, holy shit, that was amazing! I don't know how they shut down the streets of Vegas to do that, but it paid off. That was incredible. Now, I've noticed some complaints that this film has received, and the biggest one that I've noticed is that a lot of people feel that this film copies too much off of the original trilogy and that there's apparently nothing new. But here's something that nobody points out that I feel like you really need to. Each Bourne film really goes by a very specific formula. Really think about it. In each film, all the way back to Identity, there is a memory that triggers Bourne to seek out previous information that he didn't know he had. He has a woman or women who are assisting him along the way. There's an evil CIA agent who believes that premeditated murder through the assassination program is necessary to protect Americans at all costs. And in the end, Bourne will confront this agent in a very specific location, and he will find out there were some pretty bad things that he did that were entirely his fault and were made completely of his choice. But here's the reason I think this formula works and is very essential. This formula is not as cliched as other modern spy films. The women in these movies are not sexualized in any way. They're strong, they're interesting, they actually provide for Bourne, whether it be to seek out information by, say, hacking a computer or going in person to find out more knowledge. The villain is very understandable in each film. He isn't just some bad guy who wants to take over anything. He actually has a motivation, and that is to protect America and to prevent any dirty secrets from being exposed. And the other main thing, and this is essential, in each film, Bourne figures out something worse and worse that he did that he realizes he can't fix his mistakes. And what sets him apart from the villains is that they try so hard to cover up and deny their previous flaws, while Bourne is slowly trying to accept the fact that he can't fix anything and tries to move on. As for problems, while the Hitman's motivation for wanting to kill Bourne so badly is interesting, I felt like they gave it away too quickly for us to be really surprised and really invested in this revelation. And there's a subplot involving this rich internet billionaire who is in league with Dewey that it does fit with the theme of how surveillance can protect our lives but also invade our privacy. But the billionaire himself isn't a very interesting character, and this storyline doesn't really have a ton to do with Bourne being a legitimate threat to the CIA. It really exists more as being, okay, we had Operation Treadstone and Blackbriar in the original films, here's Operation Iron Hand. And it just felt, it's one of the few things in the Bourne formula that really feels a little bit tacked on. If you loved the original Jason Bourne trilogy and can watch those movies over and over again without it ever feeling old or dated, I think you'll definitely enjoy this film. Because the action sequences are very tense and gritty, the atmosphere is incredibly suspenseful, well built up, and is the biggest scope in the entire franchise. And once again, the Jason Bourne character arc, I feel, is still just as interesting and tragic as it's ever been. And for that reason, I'm going to give Jason Bourne a 4.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching, and thank you so much for sticking through to my Jason Bourne reviews. And once again, another big special thank you to Nick Logan from Cinematic Addicts and Noah Miller from Father and Son Review Everything for collaborating with me on my first two reviews. Definitely check their channels out. Definitely check out the rest of the reviews in the Jason Bourne franchise. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other reviews at NoPerfectMovie.com. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.